Hey everybody, welcome to Mammoth Interactive's YouTube channel. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. And remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon. Instead, we sell our digital courses down below. And every single dollar that we get from the products you buy below goes into making more content. The best way to help out this channel and Mammoth Interactive is to subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. Get thousands of hours and hundreds of courses for a low price down below. We have a monthly option and a yearly option. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the video.
Hello and welcome to the new Blender 2.8 version. As you can see, Blender has made great improvements from its previous 2.7 version. Now, most of the UI has been simplified and streamlined to make it easier for you to work in and access. Now, most of the tools and settings have been changed. Some of them are still the same. We don't have to worry too much about those because we're just going to be changing some of those settings later down in the next few videos to accommodate us in our previous workflow, and also kind of learn the new settings to also incorporate into our current workflow. But yeah, Blender 2.8 is a lot easier to access, well, most of its hotkeys and shortcuts, because you'd have to click less buttons now, and it just makes everything much more simpler. Now, if you are completely new to this program, don't worry, we're going to be covering mostly basics of everything, and it's a sort of a reintroduction of Blender again. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next few videos. Okay, we're going to jump right into the basic navigational controls of Blender 2.8. It should be quite straightforward. If you have a mouse that has, well, all three buttons, the left, right, and the middle mouse wheel, you can just simply click on the middle mouse wheel to say, let's say, orbit around the object that you're currently viewing. Just click on that, and you can just sort of orbit around, look around, and that's it. Now, if you want to move from side to side, or say pan from one object to the next, all you have to do is just click on Shift, middle mouse click, and drag. As you can see right here, you're moving side to side. And if you want to, say, zoom in to your object or zoom out, what you have to do is just simply scroll the wheel like that. Scroll in, scroll out. And as you can see on the top right corner right here, with the new UI sort of change right here, you have this sort of view angle. This is sort of your camera view, and this is Z is going to be the top to bottom, X and Y are your front to side kind of views. And if you want to, say look from the top, just click on the Z. You can look this straight down. It goes automatically into the orthographic view. If you kind of rotate out, it automatically goes out of orthographic. It goes into perspective mode. And if you want to go side, you just click on those two other sort of options right there. Now, as you can see, we have additional little buttons right here. This is the zoom in and out sort of view button right here. If you don't have like a middle mouse key, you can just simply click on this and just drag in and out. As you can see, we're just zooming in and out. And for this, just click on this and then move side to side. Now this little button right here, what it does, as you can see, it kind of gives you this little camera sort of icon. As what that does is basically it takes you into the camera point of view of your your project right here. Just click out, jump out. This is the camera that is automatically spawned in when you create a new project. And right here, this is the orthographic and perspective view mode. You can click on this to change your sort of viewpoint right here from perspective to orthographic, or orthographic back into perspective, and click on that. Now, we don't really need these buttons right here. Well, we won't really use them since we have a middle mouse button. And for the sort of orthographic and perspective mode switches, we can sort of change that by using the hotkey. Now, if you click on 5 on a keyboard, it's not going to work if you're using a laptop because we don't have the numpad unless you're using a whole other keyboard that's connected externally. But if you don't have that, we can go over into the preference settings, which is now under the edit tab, not the file tab, so you won't have a heart attack when you see this. If you find it missing, just go over to edit mode, go to preferences, and we can go to inputs, which is where it's landed right here, and simply click on emulate numpad, save preferences. And now when you click on the number keys like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it'll just move around your cameras, and no, I think it's 1 to 9. Yeah, 0 is your, well, the camera. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the navigational controls part of the tutorial. But for now, let's take a short break. We'll come back to this later. We'll continue on with changing some of the user's preferences and settings, so that makes it easier for you to work in the new Blender 2.8. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are back in Blender again, and right now we are going to continue on with the object mode and edit mode functions of the new Blender 2.8. Now, we're just going to sort of use the simple basic controls that you might see and use in object mode. First off, as you can see, we are currently set to object mode, and if you want to sort of play around with your object here, before that I'm going to click on the camera and the lights here. I'm just going to delete these. Click X, delete, and there you go. We don't need those two items in our screen right now, just taking up some space. I am going to click on our cube down in the center. Now, if you want to move our object, we can simply click on G, and it is sort of this free roams, free movement sort of key. Basically, it's just a movement key. I'm going to put this back in center by just undoing Command Z. There you go. And if we want to, say, rotate our object, just simply click on the key R. As you can see, we can just rotate this around, undo that. Scale, click S, we just increase the size up and down, depends on how large, how small you want it to be. And I'm just going to undo. Now, as you can see, you can do the same thing with your object by using these sort of keyboard, or not keyboard, shortcuts. These shortcuts right here, or these tab options, you can also do the same thing. Click on that, and it gives you the options, or the sort of the nodes right here for you to sort of play around or drag around, be more precise with your object. And I'm just going to undo, put it back in the center. You have the option to rotate here as well. If you hover over these keys, you can see the sort of keyboard shortcuts and what they're called. There's scaling here as well, and transform. This is more of a free transform. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that section of the object mode. Now we can switch over into edit mode by clicking on tab, or you can just simply switch over from the sort of drop-down menu over here, or in the new Blender 2.8, you can click on Control Tab, or just hold this. As you can see right here, you get the options of switching from edit mode, object mode, weight paint, vertex paint, texture paint, and sculpt mode. Right here, we want edit mode. You can just jump over. As you can see, it goes right over. But since we're just, flipping around in between object and edit mode, we just simply use the old-fashioned tab and just jumps in between these two options. Now, you might have noticed that since we're using the sort of menu of Control Tab for these guys right here, what happened to the old selection mode options, aka the vertex and the edge and face modes? Now, as you can see right here, on the top left corner, there are these options right here: vertex select, edge select, and the face select. Blender 2.8 basically made it so that the numbers 1, 2, and 3 are locked to those options right there. You can just select those by clicking, fast selecting the different types of modes. But we have a slight problem. As you can see, if I click 1, 2, and 3, we are changing the camera angles. And that is one of the slight problems that has arisen with the usage of the emulate keyboard function, or the setting that we have right here. Now, normally, if you're using just a simple normal keyboard with a numpad, you wouldn't be put in this situation because you wouldn't need the emulate numpad. But since we're working on a laptop, we'll need to figure out a way to fix this issue. And it's actually quite simple. All we have to do is just go over to the key map section. We can go over to the top search area. We can type in select mode. And under select mode, we are going to use we're going to change the options here for the mesh option. As you can see, 1, 2, and 3, those are the different options right here. First one is 1. We are going to click on, let's use Control, because for some reason, when you use Command 1, it's still going to jump around using the cameras instead. So over here, Control 2, right here, Control 3. Save Preferences, and as you can see, if I click on Control 1, 2, and 3, it's switching between face, edge, and vertex. It might be slightly, it might feel slightly different, but the more you get used to it, the easier it gets. Now, if you don't want to use like this new option of like these fast keys right here, these shortcuts, you can technically go back to using the old Blender 2.7 options, which gives you the Control Tab drop down menu, but with it also kind of resets you back to the old Blender 2.7, I guess all the 2.7 versions of control settings. So you might not get all the options you'll see in 2.8, but again, if you do like using the older version, the control layout, you can by all means go back to it. And yeah, that's a simple way to sort of fix the emulate numpad issue when you jump over into Blender 2.8. And that's pretty much it. Now, the controls for sort of moving around the vertexes or edges, everything is the same as the movements in object mode. So that's quite straightforward. You get the you can select one vertex right here. You can, I guess, you can just move it. Click G, free move everywhere right here. Rotate. I don't think you can rotate in 1 point, so I'm just gonna select 2 points right here. Click R. As you can see, it rotates those two at a center point right there. And undo that. Scale, same thing. Scales outwards, and there you go. Simple sort of movement controls, and just in general, simple controls to work with when you are playing in edit mode. And with that, we're going to take a short break, come back to this later, and continue on with additional things that you might need while working in Blender 2.8. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are back with Blender 2.8, and again, we are going to make a few changes to our preferences. Basically just some quality of life changes, some settings to make things easier for ourselves, and make things, I guess, more go more smoothly when we're messing around in this program. Now, first off, we are going to go into edit mode, or not edit mode. We're going to go into the edit tab. We're going to go to preferences. And in the key map sections, I am going to go and click on, I believe it was view selected, view SE. And as you can see, we have the options of 3D view. And under 3D view, there are multiple view selected options. But as you can see, our current option of selecting, view selected the option right there, it's command numpad period right there. Since we're using a laptop keyboard, we don't have the numpad. We'll need to sort of change this around and change that. I'm going to just click on Shift F, save that, close this. As you can see, with the option of having Shift F, we can just zoom in to whatever object we are we have selected. That's just a simple, fast, and easy way of sort of zooming in, getting to the object that we are trying to focus on. For instance, if we were to Shift E, move this to the side, we're going to duplicate this. I'm going to go Shift R to repeat the previous action. We have all these cubes right here. If you want to select one of them, Shift F, zooms into that one so we can focus, puts the center right there. Right here, go back to the original one right here, rotate around, it goes to it, focuses all your current perspective camera onto that object. And yeah, it just makes our lives a lot easier to work with. Take all these guys, click X, delete. Oops. Actually, click spacebar. The new sort of animation dope sheet right here. Use the spacebar instead to sort of activate. It's a lot easier to use too. This is just something else on the side. It used to be you have to sort of click Alt and sort of scroll. Now I can just simply scrub it by clicking on the current time frame. But yeah, let's we can just put that aside. We don't need to use that. Let's go back to our cube. Another thing that we can sort of turn on is the, I think it's called Gizmos. Yeah, as you can see right here, we have our cube, nothing on it. I think it's better if we turn on the move gizmo. So as you can see, it turns on this the node right here. It gives us the option to do more accurate sort of sliding action on our objects. You can turn on more, such as rotate or the scale. But I believe you can already scale with this. Actually, no, you can't do that. That's for like the side to side sort of diagonal movements. But yeah, if you want, you can use that. Rotate is on. I usually just turn on the move function. The scaling, you don't really need to constantly scale your object. All you have to do is just click S and you can scale it. Rotation, if you do want to rotate it, I suggest just clicking R, rotating. But if you do want a more, I guess, more fine rotation options, you can turn on that rotation button right there. As you can see, you can just like rotate it on this is the X axis, Y axis, and the Z axis. But yeah, there you go. And it's just some quality of life things that we can turn on, change, and that's pretty much it for those settings. We'll do additional ones later on in the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, in Blender 2.7, the previous version, to select objects or like masses of objects, a bunch of things at once, you'd have to, I guess, box select by clicking B, selecting using the box right there to select a huge portion. But in 2.8, they kind of took out that option. Well, not really take out the option. They just made it so that it is easier for you to select a bunch of things by simply just left clicking and grabbing all the pieces. If If you go in edit mode, same thing, just grab, select. You can still use the same option of clicking B and select using that box select right there, but it's the same thing. It's kind of redundant. You don't need to use it anymore. Just simply left click, drag, grab, and there you go. Now, if you were to say, I guess if you want to merge two vertexes, or make some, if you have like close pieces that are like nearby to each other and you want them to be merged, there used to be the option of sort of merging or deleting doubles, and as you can see, it used to be the W key, but now the W key is sort of a added selection sort of option. You can paint select. I'm just gonna click W, stop using that sort of option. Click A. I'm just gonna deselect, or you can just click off on the side, and it'll deselect. As you can see right here, click 1, 2, and right click. Now, as you can see, we get the whole sort of drop-down menu of all those mainly needed sort of options that you used to see, or you had to use a bunch of different like hotkeys to get all these options. But right now, they've pretty much merged all those options together in Blender 2.8, and it just makes things a lot faster when you're trying to, I guess, work on your geometry. As you can see right here, merge, you can go by first, last, all these different options right here, or even by distance. And we should get an option right here, as you can see. You can merge them together. And since they're pretty far away, they won't really merge, but if you increase it to like 1 or more, actually, I don't know if I can merge it from that. How far is that? That's like, let's go like 10. And there you go. It merges it because it is within that distance. And if I were to say take these two, scale it down inwards, like that close, put this down. Actually, I'm gonna leave this option open and go over into merge vertices by distance. I'm gonna drop this to 0.01, and then it should, if we move up to a certain point, it should merge together. And yeah, just like that. Yeah, that's a simple option of sort of cleaning up your mesh. In fact, you can actually just simply go into the mesh option right here. There is a new cleanup option right here, and you get all these different ways of sort of making sure that your extra vertexes, all those problems are taken away, and sort of, it simply merges together. But yeah, we don't need to do that, so I'm just gonna, let's just take this cube, delete it, and delete this, Shift A, create new cube, place it where it was before, there you go, and just deselect, and there you go. Some simple ways of, or the new and simple ways of sort of playing around with your cube or with the geometry in Blender 2.8. Okay, we're back again, and we are going to explore a little bit more of the selection options in Blender 2.8. Now, as you can see right here, we are currently using the default left click, drag, and the box select option right here. Now, if you don't want to use the box select, you can switch the option over here on the top left corner where you see this little selection box, this little icon. Just left click on it, hold, and you should see all these different options. The select circle is more of a sort of, I guess, paint kind of option. You kind of understand it if you do select it. You sort of paint over the areas that you want to select, and it should grab those points for you. Now the other option is the lasso select. You deselect, grab, and just paint over the areas that you want to select. It will grab those pieces. You can grab the whole thing right here, just deselect and select it. And as you can see right here, if we rotate it, we've gotten everything that our lasso has sort of covered, except for this other point on the other side of the cube. Now, the reason why I didn't select it is because we can't select through the solid geometry because it doesn't see it. One way to sort of grab that point, if you're selecting the whole piece, you can either click on A to select everything. But if your object is a little bit more complex and you want to grab certain areas, you can simply go into the sort of wireframe mode by clicking on Z, and it will pop up this sort of pie chart right here. We're just going to go from solid and jump over into wireframe. And as you can see right here, you can see through your cube, and you can just simply select everything right here, as you can see right here. And you can, simply jump back and forth between wireframe and solid to sort of play around with your object. Now, there's also a different way of selecting, points or whatever faces that you have on the other side of a object. That is to turn on the X-ray option in your sort of solid work area by clicking on the top right icon. There's like this little show X-ray. You can just click on that, and your object, take this piece right here. I'm going to duplicate it. Shift D, move it to the side. As you can see right here, both pieces, your entire scene has been turned into this sort of giant X-ray. You can see through things slightly, and you can work in this sort of X-ray point of view right here. But yeah, you can just do that. But if you don't want to, again, you can just simply click on Z, go into wireframe, and you'll be able to work on all your objects in this sort of X-rayed or wireframed version. It's basically the same thing. I guess it's just more up to you on which option you want to use. One, you can click on this, or just use the sort of pie chart or the wireframe selection right there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, now that we've gone through the basics of the navigational controls and also some of the basics of the different types of selection controls, we are going to continue on by sort of using the different types of frequently used tools that you'll be using when you're creating whatever 3D model or project you are working on. Now, first up, we're going to go into edit mode by clicking on tab. Then we are going to play around with the edge loop tool. Now, edge loop, you can just simply click on Control R, and it will show up right here as this sort of yellow, mark right here on your object. You can go onto the different faces or different angles right here. As you can see, it will always be set to the center. All you have to do is click once, and as you can see, it becomes orange. It's set on that face that you are sort of working on. Notice you can still kind of move it right here. What this does is basically you can create however small or whatever division you want on your sort of surface right here. It doesn't have to be perfectly in center, but if you do want it to be centered, you can just simply Control R and double click, and it will set right away in the center point of your sort of object right here. Another tool that you might use a lot is the Extrusion Key, which is a shortcut mapped onto the E key. I'm going to go into the face right here, face selection mode, by clicking on R shortcut Control 3, and I'm just going to select this face, simply click on E, and it will extrude outwards, as you can see right there. Now our object is no longer just a simple cube. It is it's a step right here, and if we want to make it even more detailed, we can go like this, go into the face, grab this face, extrude it upwards, and we have this slightly more complex shape compared to the old sad looking cube. Now, if you don't want these pieces like so, we can go back to, using a simple cube. We can delete all these pieces right here. I am just going to go into Wireframe, and since it's in face mode, I can just select all these pieces right here. Click X, delete. There you go. Let's go back into solids, and we can fix up this bit right here. I go into edge mode, grab this and this, click F, fill it back up. Because we have this extra edge, we could technically just grab this whole edge right here, click Alt, select that whole edge right there. It should go all the way through the edge loop. Click X, dissolve edge, and we are gonna hold Alt on this section right here, and it should follow through the entire section here. And grab all those edges, click F, fill it in. As you can see, it is back to a normal cube. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. It's quite simple to use when you're using those tools together. You can sort of create and spread your object into different, shapes and sizes, and you can just use that as your foundation to create whatever you're trying to create. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so sometimes you might not want to manually add in edge loops and you want to make your cube slightly more detailed. You can simply go ahead and use the option of subdivisions. Now, first off, we're going to get a clean cube right here. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and grab these edges right here, dissolve edge by clicking X. And we are going to select all the edges right here, as you can see by clicking A, and it used to be W. Now we click on, you right click, and it will give you all these additional sort of options right here that you can sort of select from to sort of beef up your the subdivisions of your cube right here. Right click, very top, subdivide. As you can see, our cube now is split to 4x4 cubes, and you can keep going on, or you can, sort of add additional subdivisions in certain areas. I'm going to go Control R. Let's select this area by clicking Alt and selecting the faces at a angle, so you can select it from this area right here. Right click, subdivide. As you can see, it only subdivides this portion of your your cube right here, but that kind of creates these additional endless loops right here. It doesn't really end, it only creates over here. So we try best to avoid these sort of issues right here when you're creating any type of object in a 3D modeling program, because you don't want to have 5 points of an object. You'd rather have 3 points. 3 points is better than 5 points. It's easier to sort of it's less messy. That's what I would say. But yeah, we're just gonna undo all that, and there you go. Now, if you are working on an object that is symmetrical, I'd say, you can use the simple option of creating a mirror on your object here. Now, I'm going to select these faces, click X, delete faces, there you go, and click on one or hover over this little island over here, click on L, and it will select from that said island only that portion, or you can click L again, test it around, add in additional islands, but we're just going to select this piece right here, click L, click X, delete faces, and we're only left with half of our cube now. Again, this is the easiest way to create symmetrical objects by using a mirror. Now, to do that, we're going to go over to the right side. Like in the older versions of Blender, such as Blender 2.7, you just go over it into the Modifier section, as you can see right here, add modifier. I'm going to throw in a mirror modifier. It should be right over here under the generate tab right here. Oop. We're going to go use mirror, and currently it is set to the x-axis. But this right here is green, so that's the y-axis. We're going to turn off x-axis. Let's go in edit mode, and you will see that part of our cube is now this grayed out bit right here. That means this section is the mirrored part. This is the only geometry part that you can kind of work on, and it will get mirrored. Let's go into vertex mode. I'm going to use my hotkey Control 1, and as you see right here, when I sort of move this point, the center point right here, the mirror point is also built right here. And you can do everything such as like extruding this whole bit right here, extrude, and it will get mirrored onto that side. And it's always good to have the option of clipping on, because if you don't have that option on, if we sort of grab the center edge right here and move this, as you can see, our object is, well, it can be torn apart, or you can go through it and it will create this weird mirrored layer that crosses through into this area right here. It will have sort of double faces, which isn't a good idea when you're trying to clean things up. And do that, turn on clipping, and as you can see, it will magically stick together and it will not go past anywhere right here. And if you want to pull to the right here, it doesn't do it too, because it's now currently glued together basically. And if you were to select this sort of edge right here and do the same thing, take it to the center, drag it, you can't drag it out anymore because it has been sort of glued into the center. So I'm just gonna do that, place it back a little bit like so. But yeah, if you have your whatever cube or object that is perfectly symmetrical completed, all you have to do is just apply that. Or we have to go into object mode first, then apply. As you can see, if we jump back into edit mode, our object now is mirrored and set, and this way you can now sort of I guess change the symmetry. You can make it asymmetrical like so, and yeah, there you go. It is now basically in the position where you can add in additional details. So imagine this as a face. You have a perfectly sort of symmetrical, like general looking face, and you want to start adding details. That's when you can sort of just apply your mirror mod and just play around at throwing in details onto whatever object or said face object. And yeah, simple modifiers. There's a lot of additional sort of modifiers they can play around with, but most of the time you're going to be using that mirror modifier to create the sort of general shape of whatever object you are creating. It just saves a lot of time when you're using the mirror modifier, so you don't have to work on two sides of the same object. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, and we are back, and as you can see right here, we are going to play around a little bit with the basic or sort of initial settings of our base mesh. Now, when you create a brand new, object or whatever mesh you have, it will give you sort of these options to play around with. Since we've already deselected our cube, I'm just going to redo this by deleting our cube. Shift A, we're going to go over to mesh, we're going to create a simple cube, and as you can see right here in the bottom left corner, add cube, and that is the setting right there. It's kind of a drop down menu, or I guess more of a pop-up menu really, and when you click on it, it will give you these options right here. Now for the cube itself, it gives you the option to change its size. I guess you can change it up and down right here. I'm just going to leave it back at 2, because if I do that and sort of change it to something else, it's going to affect other objects, other new cubes I create. It's going to sort of use that defaults right there. I'm just going to keep it at 2. You can change up the location, X, Y, and Z. Same with rotation, all over here. But these are just like, the starting sort of settings of our cube. And other, I guess, shapes, such as a sphere. There are different types of options that you can add onto it. I'm going to go Shift A. You can go to Mesh, UV Sphere, not a circle. I'm going to click on that and click Open the pop-up menu. As you can see right here, you have the segments, rings, and radius. This basically are these first 2 options right here is basically the amount of subdivisions you want on your sphere right here. You can increase it to make this more smooth. As you can see right here, if I increase the amount of rings, if I increase it too much, it's gonna probably lag my computer, and I don't want that to happen. As you can see right here, increase this to let's go like 70 by 70. You can see that the flatness of our all these edges have disappeared, but that has just increased our the amount of detail that we have on our sphere by a little bit too much. So I'm going to drop this back down to 16. That's why I create new orbs. It's not going to affect anything. And here you go, we have the size as well, radius. But yeah, as you can see, you can tweak around with these basic settings right here to kind of change it up and make it more detailed. And you will see less of those edges right there, or those like points. Yeah, but there is another way. If you don't like seeing all these weird, I guess these edges right here, you can simply right click on anywhere on your screen with the object selected, of course, and you will see these 2 options over here, the shade smooth and shade flat. Basically what we have right now is shade flat. If you click the shade smooth, you'll notice that all the edges have disappeared. You'll see those weird kind of, I guess, weird bumps right there. It's all smoothed out, but you can still kind of see on the, I guess, the silhouette of our orb right here. You can still see some of the lines right here, all these straight edges. But with the shade smooth, it just removes all those guys right here, making it look smoother. Right click, shade flat, it's back to its original sort of look of all these edges flowing through it. Now we can delete this, Shift A, go into a different mesh. Let's go with the Isosphere right here. Isosphere, same thing. You have all these options right here. Mainly the things you want to tweak around are just like these top ones. The bottom ones are all just location, rotation of your mesh. And in our case right here, the Isosphere, if you increase the amount of subdivisions, it'll just smooth it out as well, as you can see right there. If I increase it more, hopefully not too much, it doesn't break my computer. But as you can see right here, it multiplies it by a factor of 6, and all these sort of edges have disappeared. Just smooths out our sphere right here. But if you click into edit mode, you'll notice that this thing is really detailed, and it will hopefully it doesn't lag your computer. But because it's Isosphere, it's all in triangles, and it just looks pretty cool if you look at it this way. But I'm gonna make sure that I delete this. Shift A. Let's go back to Isosphere, and let's turn this back down to 2. You can even just drop it to 1, but I'm gonna make this maybe like factor of 3. Let's go 4. Same thing. Actually, let's leave it at 3. Same thing. Right click if you want it to be smooth. It'll also just turn all the surface sort of image right here into this smooth shape. If you go in edit mode, it still kind of looks smooth too, but if you go into object, it'll just smooth everything out. Right click back to the flat surface, check it out. That's the original sort of lighting on our surface of our sphere right here. And yeah, we can just delete that. Next up, you're going to go over to the cylinder, which is right here. And also right here, we have all these bottom sort of edges right here that creates or circles around our sort of cylinder right here. The more vertices we have, the smoother our cylinder is. And I'm just gonna drop it down to like 16 before. It's up to you, pretty much. Depth, pretty much like the length right here. You can make this longer, shorter, super flat like a coin. I'm just gonna set it back to 2. And that's pretty much it. Same thing with this guy. You can right click on it, smooth shade it. Slightly harder because, as you can see right here, we don't have a center point where all our I guess edges meet. I've said it before, it's always good to have a 4-sided, or I guess 4-edge face or a triangle over these weird shapes, because the algorithm or whatever is calculating the lighting on your object kind of gets confused at what creates edges or shadows when you get these weird looking faces. Now we can let's go into face mode. I'm just gonna select this top face. You can fix these issues sometimes. It's just a kind of easy fix. We can click on extrude, scale it down like so, and if you go into edit mode, it should kind of give you a little bit better of a view, but if not, we can merge all these guys together. I am going to, let's go into vertex, merge these guys. Let's merge vertices at center, and there you go. We have these sort of, I guess this closed off kind of edge right here. And to further sort of make these edges, or this outer edge, a little bit more, well, just more, you should probably add in either bevel, or you can extrude this upwards, like this whole face area. I think to bevel, just grab this edge, Control B, you can kind of just stretch it out a little bit, create this nice little bevel right there. Jump out, and there you go. You have this nice little cutoff point on the edge, giving it a separation of the side and the top. Now, if you want to do the same thing to the bottom so that it actually looks the same right here, we can just go through and use the same mirror option on the, I guess, the bottom right here. So in edit mode, let's add in edge loop. Let's grab the faces. Let's grab these faces, bottom faces, delete those, and delete that as well. I'm going to take this object, throw in a simple mirror modifier, and in this case will be the z-axis. Turn off the x-axis. You'll see that this place has mirrored the top section here and created this nice little separation of the bottom and the side. And we are going to make sure make sure the center point is truly centered, because when we push the bevel downwards, the center edge wasn't really centered anymore. It slightly shifted down because this bottom part didn't have that bevel. So we're just going to grab clipping, use that same method, that simple method of grabbing the edge, select that, pull it upwards, and as you can see, there was a slight movement right there, and it just snapped in place because of the clipping option that we turned on. You can turn it off, test it yourself, and as you can see, we're going to close it like this, snap it in place, and easy peasy, apply. So I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode, apply that, and there you go. We have a perfect cylinder with some nice separations of the side and the top of the shadows. But if you don't want to go through all that trouble, you can just go back to flat shade mode, and still clean with that nice little bevel right there. Yeah, that's pretty much it for those. And just gonna delete this. Shift A, we can go on to another one, such as cone. Cone has the option of increasing vertices over here, making it more detailed. Change up the radius of the top or bottom. As you can see, this is 0, and that'll be the top because that's where the point is at. and this is the radius of the bottom, which is 1 meter. And as you can see, we just increase it, we can decrease it, and set it back to the default 1. The depth, you have a 2 meter, 2 grid space size right here. As you can see, 1 and 2. That's the height of this sort of, I guess, pyramid. No, it's cone. But yeah, you can just play around, tweak all these settings, and you can do whatever you want to all these objects. But yeah, just those are just the basic sort of options that you can tweak around with to sort of change up the first initial creation of your objects, or like the default settings. And that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are back again, and we are going to sort of play around with another quite frequently used function, which is the snap function, or you can call it the magnet function. Now, as you can see right here, we have our cube. If we were to move this on the y-axis, it'll just slide really smoothly. But if you don't want it to be that smooth, you want it to be more in order and less chaos, you can turn on snap function by clicking on Shift Tab, which is the shortcut to turn it on. As you can see right here, if I were to move it again on the y-axis, it's just going to snap to the current grid. As you can see, the sort of background grid right here that we have, snap by 1 grid size or 1 grid space. And yeah, it just makes things a lot neater and less chaotic. As you can see on the top, when we turn it on with our shortcut, it turned blue. That means it's on. You can also just click on this to turn it on and off. On the right side of the little magnet icon, you have the different settings of your snap function. And if you click on it, left click, you'll notice that we are currently set to increments. And that is basically what type of snap you're using right now, which is snapping onto the grid. You can have vertices or vertexes. You can snap to edges, snap to faces, volume. But I guess the most basic would be just snapping in the grid. Now we can have, let's go with move this piece. I'll go Shift D. Let's move this. As you can see, it snaps into places right here. Pretty sweet. Move this separate object. I am going to snap this now to say vertex. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna click G, and it should just snap to the different vertices right here. And I can just select that, select this, and move that and snap it to the vertex right there. At this, I guess this function right here, this different type of snapping the vertexes, helps you sort of, I guess, more easily navigate your different objects to sort of stick together if you want them to be like as close as possible, or if you want to make sure that things are connected, just simply snap it to the vertex. And we can just combine these two objects together. And let's go Command J. As you can see, that's a combination of 2 objects right now. And we can go into wireframe mode. As you can see, there is this additional face right here. Just gonna go ahead, select those faces right there, and delete face, and there you go. We have a singular sort of object right here. I'm gonna make sure that it is connected though. Let's go into face mode. It's currently in face. I'm gonna grab this, click L. Yeah, it's not completely merged, but if I move this, you'll notice that you can separate it. I'm gonna snap it back in place, double click A. We are gonna right click, and there should be the option of sort of merging them together. Actually, I believe we have to be in vertex mode. I'm gonna grab these guys. Let's go into wireframe, grab these pieces right here, right click, can merge vertices. I'm going to make sure to merge them by distance, because if we merge it by center, it's just going to crush them all together into the center point. Undo that. And let's go into merge by distance. You can open up distance. Right now it's 0.05. It should technically be together. To test that, we are going to go back into face mode. I'm going to go into solid. And before, when I clicked on L to select the island, I only selected this piece right here. So if I were to merge it together right now, it should select the whole thing, as you can see right there. And yeah, simple connection, simple like sort of a weld of the two pieces when you sort of snap them together. But yeah, that's just some basic knowledge on how to snap your pieces or whatever object or two objects that you want sort of closer together. You can also use the snaps in the I guess any selection mode that you want, such as like I guess face mode right here. You can just snap this over. You can move it by the increments. I like using increments more because it's more safe. It's more basic, I'd say. Another thing that you might need to know is that when you are in snap mode, because it's always snapping in large increments, you can hold on to shift and it should move at a smaller increment, so you can do more detailed movements. I'm going to just click on, say, I guess the y-axis here, hold on to shift, and as you can see, it's just moving a lot slower right here. Instead of, if I let go of shift, it's going to snap in these sort of large portions. I'm just going to delete this whole thing right here. Delete, shift A, let's create a new cube. And let's go into the top view by clicking on 7, which is your top view for the orthographic view. If I were to move it right now, it's going to snap, well, in the orthographic mode, it's going to snap into, I think this is 1/10 of a cube in movements. If I were to hold on to shift, it's going to, this is not, I'm not snapping the right way. I should be trying to move this over here. Over here, hold on to this right here, and yeah, there you go. Hold on to shift while I'm holding on to the x-axis right here. It is snapping, I think this is 1/100th of the grid increments right here. And yeah, it just makes your life easier when you're trying to do more precise movements with the snap mode. And yeah, that's just some of the basics of working with snap mode on. You can turn it off anytime you want. Just shift tab, turn that off, and now it's back to the normal whatever movements that you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Quite some simple basic knowledge on snap mode. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, we are back with Blender 2.8, and in this video I'm just gonna sort of show you the basics of the new Explorer or the object layer right here. And as you can see, first off is the scene collection. It's now called scene collection, and under the first collection or the first layer you have the original cube that we have in our scene right here. If you open up the cube right here, you'll notice that you see the mesh, which is a cube mesh, and with that it's linked to a material. If you open it up, and this is the base material that's connected to our cube. We can just close those off, and if we wanted to sort of create a new object, we're gonna shift A, gonna make like a I guess a cone would work. Click G and move it out over here. As you can see, we have a cone. There's the base cone shape or mesh, and let's just move this a little bit over here, and it is stored under the sort of first collection. We can double click these to change their names. Let's just go like first layer, basic shapes, and we can close those off. You'll see that there are two things open right now. You can turn those off, hide them, or you can just deselect them as well, or sort of exclude them from the layer, but we don't want that. Just open it up, and in Blender 2.8, if you want to sort of sort your objects, if you have a lot of objects all built in at once, you probably want to separate them into like different layers. Well, this is just like just in case kind of thing. I'm gonna take this and duplicate this. Shift D and Shift R, duplicate this. Take this cone, Shift D, move it on the side, Shift R, right there. Let's call this, I'm gonna rename this. Let's call these cubes. And now we want to sort all these objects. As you can see, they're all in the same layer. We want to sort them into different layers. Let's say we'll have one for cubes, one layer for cones. What you have to do is just right click new. You get the collection of a second new collection, but as you can see, there's nothing in it, so it's not affected by it. I'm just gonna grab these guys right here. Click B, use box select these guys, and we are just gonna grab these cones and drag them in to the new layer. As you can see, if I were to close this, it's only affecting the cubes, and we have these. I'm going to rename this as cones and drop them off. You'll notice that it is now 4 and 4 because we have 4 cones and 4 cubes, and you can just hide them whatever. If you're trying to, just work on the cone or the cubes, you can just turn off the cones, and well, actually click spacebar. You won't affect anything on the cones areas. See, if you were to like drag it, nothing. It's not selecting anything, and all you have to worry about is just working on the sections of this cube layer right here. And yeah, it's quite straightforward. It's just a lot easier for you to sort things now with the new Explorer in Blender 2.8. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we're back again, and we are going to try and play around with the basic materials of Blender 2.8. It should be around the same thing as the previous versions of Blender. Now, first off, we're going to go into the object that we have here, which is the cube, and under the tab right here, you should be able to see it. Click on that. This is the Materials tab. As you can see right now, it is set to the base default color right here, which is this gray sort of color. I'm gonna go ahead and actually duplicate our cube here. I'm gonna just duplicate this, like, let's move this on the y-axis. Move it right here, Shift R to duplicate it a few times. You can duplicate it a few more times if you want. First off, we are going to change our basic color into something else and remove the color right here, which is that gray color. Create new, and we're gonna go with let's go with the basic RGB, which is red, green, and blue. Let's call this. You can double click on it, rename this red. Enter, and we'll need to change the base color, which is right here. You can double click it, well, as you can see right here, double click it, or just click it once, and you can select whichever color there is that you are trying to go for. Let's see, red would be good. Now it's currently set to red, but you kind of wonder why there is no color change. Well, that is because our current render display is set to this basic solid shading and not the sort of colored sort of shading of our objects. And as you can see right here, you can just click on that, and there you go. It should transition towards that sort of render color, and we have our red right here. Now, previously, when we were playing around with the sort of wireframe option, if I click on Z, you also get that same sort of pie chart right here. And as you can see, we can just jump between that back to that solid color, and then jump to the look dev color right here, and we get our colors from here. The next object, I'm just gonna create new. Let's go for green. Double click green and click on a random sort of color right there, and it should get the green color. And as you can see right now, because it's still connected to the base color right there, the base material, it's going to show up as a white or gray color. We're just going to go ahead. We can either delete this or sort of assign it to the color down here, but we'll do that later on. Right now we have red, green, and now blue. Add new, create new, let's call this blue, and change color to simple blue. And it's kind of slow right here. Let's just go ahead and delete that. And there you go, RGB. Actually, click spacebar. Let's just pause that. I am going to move this downwards. Don't really need to see this. And we're going to move over here to this piece right here. Now, since we have RGB materials, let's go into edit mode. I'm going to go into face mode, and we can add in multiple colors into the same sort of polygon right here, separate faces. All we have to do is just add in those new colors. You can add new, and I can just select, let's see, red. We can get green. Oh, forgot to add new. Add in red. Add another one, and let's go with blue, and delete this material right here. Gonna make sure to delete it outside of it. And since this is number 1, it's gonna select green. Let's go back into edit mode. Let's select a surface right here, and all we have to do is just simply assign. As you can see, these 3 buttons right here. We selected this section right here. We can just assign this as red, and simply select this as blue. And now our cube has multiple colors on it right here. Since the default is green, it's just going to have the rest of the face is green. And yeah, it's quite simple. And also, if you want to select, well, if your object is more detailed and you want to select the a certain color, you can just simply grab the material and click select. And as you can see, it selected the blue because we select the blue right here. And we are going to deselect that. We can go green, select, just select every other face right here, as you can see. And yeah, there you go. That's the basics of adding materials or sort of colors onto your geometry. It's quite simple, straightforward. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, in this video, we're going to show you how to merge different objects together. Now, as you can see right here, we have one singular cube right here. I'm going to duplicate this and move this on the y-axis. Let's duplicate this a few times by repeating the action, Shift R, Shift R, Shift R. Now, as you can see right here, we have 5 different objects. We can go ahead and simply select all these pieces, and we can combine them together. Now, as you can see, these first 4 objects that we selected, these are the pieces that are going to follow this object right here, the light orange object, or light orange surrounding looking object. That piece with its own center pivot origin, that everything else is going to combine with that, and the origin will become this one right here. To combine them, you just simply click on Ctrl J, and if we go and turn on the gizmo so that I can see the transform tools, you'll notice that the whole object now moves with this object right here at the very end. And if we were to rotate it on, let's say, z-axis, it'll rotate from that origin point, and so on. With scaling as well, it will scale from that point of origin as well. Now, to take these pieces, now that you've sort of combined them all together as one object. If you don't want everything to be combined, don't worry about that. And if you kind of accidentally combined one piece together, again, you don't have to worry too much about it. You can separate that one piece by simply going into edit mode, and under edit mode, we're actually going to use face mode. I'm going to use Control 3, go into face mode. I'm going to deselect by clicking off to the side. Say this piece right here, this cube, you didn't want to be selected, and you accidentally combine them together. You just simply click on L on this object. Since they are all separate, and this is considered an island, you can click L and it'll just select that one piece right there. To separate it from this whole object right here, just click on P and you can separate it by selection. Just click on that. As you can see right here, it's this whole different piece right now, but sadly the origin is still stuck with this cube right there. So if you want to move it, you'll have to move it from that area. The only way to fix it is simply by right clicking, and you set the origin to the geometry, which is this object right here. As you can see, we reset it to the center right there, and it does not affect the other objects right here. As you can see, we can just move this right here, and yeah, there you go. We have the way to combine and separate objects. Now there's another way of separating the objects right here. As you can see previously, when we sort of clicked on the P key, when you click on P, you'll notice there is the options to separate it by materials and separate it by loose parts. Now since all these objects are completely loose, there you can see the gaps in between each of them. You can just simply separate them by using that option. The material option is the one where you can sort of split things by having the different objects colored, such as how when we were coloring the different surfaces in the previous video. All the different faces, you can color those and you can separate them by those said colors. But yeah, we can just go in, click P, separate by loose parts, and there you go. All these pieces are now separated, and you'd have to kind of reset their origins one by one. You can just simply click on Set Origin to Geometry, do that for each of these, Shift R, and repeat the action by Shift R, and there you go. All these pieces are all separate again. But yeah, that's the simple and basic ways of combining and separating pieces. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, next up we are going to show you how to merge objects such as their vertices, or it's not really merging, it's more like welding the different points of an object to another object. Now to do that, we're just going to start off by taking our little cube right here. I'm going to duplicate it. Let's just place it anywhere in the world, somewhere random, as you can see right here. And we're going to use the previous option that we've learned, the combine option. Just go click on Control J, and we're going to go into edit mode. As you can see right here, we can simply go ahead and take these two faces and delete them, and we're going to switch over to vertex mode and grab these two vertexes, and we are going to merge them. Now to do that, it's quite simple. We're just going to click on, right click, and we're going to go to the merge vertices section right here. Now as you can see, there are different options. There is merge at first, where the first vertex that we selected, the last one merges with the first one, or the first one merges with the last one. To center, at cursor, or to collapse. You're probably going to be using these three the most. It's quite easy to use, so we're just going to set it to center right there, and as you can see, it merges that one together. We can grab all these, Shift R to repeat the process. We can grab those as well, and then just merge these guys together. And there you go, we have one merged object. Now I'm just going to take this whole piece right here, delete this again, and let's go into Shift A, Mesh, Cube. I'm going to turn on Snap Mode so it'll be more precise. Let's go Shift Tab, and we're going to just duplicate this piece right here. Let's move it on the y-axis to about like generally this far. Actually, let's maybe move it just a slight bit, like so. Now, in the old 2.7 version of Blender, you had the option of deleting doubles, but they've sort of changed it up in the new version of Blender, where when you want to merge close pieces or stuff that are like close by, you'd have to merge them by using the merge vertices by closeness. We're going to go Control J first. You can go in edit mode. We're going to do the same thing. Right click, merge vertices, but we're going to use the merge by distance right here. And as you can see, there is this option that pops up right here, and the default distance is at around 0.001. That's not going to merge anything. But if we increase the size right here, as you can see, to 0.1, the objects connect together because those are the only two sides that are close enough that it actually is affected by the merge by distance option right here. And we can go in and check the wireframe. You'll notice that once it merged, the face is also merged. So we'll need to make sure to delete those interfaces because they might cause some issues later down the line. We just click on that, delete face. As you can see, there's no longer that little dot icon down the center. Double click on A. Yeah, you don't see anything right there. It is completely clear, and we have one merged object now. So yeah, it's quite easy, quite simple. We can delete this piece again. I'm going to create a new object, and I'm going to duplicate this piece right here. Sometimes when you do combine things and you haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary, such as like Control J, combine these two together. We're going to go in edit mode, deselect, just by clicking off the side. You might not have noticed that these two aren't combined together or merged at all. All you have to do is just simply click on L to tell that these guys aren't together, because clicking on L basically just selects that island, and since there is no connection between the two, it'll only select one piece right here. So that's an easy way to tell if your object has been combined or completely welded together. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, in this video, we're going to be playing around with the basics of UV editing. If you have no idea what UV editing is, don't worry about it. It is basically the preparation of your object for you to throw in textures into them. Now, it's more like you're laying down the foundation for you to add on the skin for your objects right here. Now, I'm not going to use these lights and cameras. I'm just going to select those, delete them. Going to go into our cube here. And as you can see on the top menu tabs right here, there is a UV editing tab. We're going to click on that. And it brings up this little window over here on your side. Now, this is your UV workspace. This is where your objects sort of UV goes. As you can see, these are the individual faces of your cube, and each face or each of these sort of surfaces represents a individual face of your cube right here. Now, this is the default unwrap of your object, and we don't really need to change much with it. On the top left of the UV editing window, you'll see that there are a few buttons right here. These are the different selection modes that you can use to select the UV over here in your workspace. First off, you have the vertex mode, then you have the edge selection, face selection, and there is also an island selection. What that does is you can basically select the overall sort of piece right here by using the island select. You have the different, selection snap modes right here. We're not going to go into detail with that. Everything else over here, you have the basic stuff that you get when you're working on your object. You have snap mode, proportional editing. This right here, the image, this little icon right here, this is basically when you're throwing on your image into your UV space right here. And here you have the UV name. You can just type that up, change it whatever you want. But we're just going to be focusing on these few buttons right here. Now, when you are working in the UV space, and if you click on the individual or sort of deselect the selection of your object, you'll notice that the UV structure in your UV workspace disappears. Now, that is because your object and your UV space is not synced. You'll need to turn that on if you want to work more smoothly with the individual faces. You can just simply click on this little button right here. This is the UV sync selection. You click on that, and as you can see right now, if you were to say select the face mode, you can see the individual faces that are on the UV workspace and your sort of cube right here. You can also select them over here, and you can kind of tell where your sort of images and textures are going to be for you to kind of mix and match them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Oh, also the hotkey for switching between the different selection modes is Control Tab, like the old selection mode. As you can see right here, if you click Control Tab, you get the different options to quick select through those different selection modes instead of going to the top and slowly clicking on those. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the basics of UV, I guess, well, UV editing. Those are more like the basics of their the mechanics that you'll be using in and working with UVs. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are back with UV editing. Now, previously we went through the basic introduction of the tools that you might be using in UV editing. Now, this video, we are actually going to unwrap something ourselves. We're going to do a simple unwrap because not all your objects are going to be basic default cubes. We're just going to do a simple sort of unwrap of a kind of complex object right here. We're just going to add an extra extrusion of our cube right here. Now with that extrusion, notice how nothing has changed in our UV space. Now that is because our object right here needs to be re-UV'd to accommodate those additional new faces that were created. As you can see right here, those faces that I just selected show up in our UV space right here, and we can just grab those. We can move them to the side by clicking on G, or the move key, and as you can see, they are all flat. And to unwrap those pieces, all we have to do is just go over in here. We can click on unwrap, and there are all these different options to unwrap those pieces. If you do unwrap, the basic unwrap right here, those pieces right here are going to be connected because they are selected together. I'll just show you that right here. We can click on unwrap. Notice how all the pieces are connected. This is most probably the top side right here. We can go into edge mode and check it out. Actually no, that is the bottom of the cube. The exterior sort of edges of those four faces are the top. But yeah, because we tried to unwrap it, and the program itself is trying to place it into a position where it actually shows some surface of those faces, it kind of stretched out those different areas and created this kind of weird structure. So we are just going to go ahead, and we can use the other options to unwrap, or you could tell the program itself to create seams for it to sort of cut. If we click on Mark Seam, you'll notice that those faces now have these dark red edges. That basically tells Blender to take those faces and separate them. We don't want them all to be connected together. If we were to grab those faces again, let's go back to UV unwrap, and there you go. As you can see right here, all those faces are now separate. But as you can see, it is sort of blocking the other surfaces. You got to make sure that all your faces aren't overlapping, or they will get these weird additional sort of textures onto them if you are painting everything through these. Everything has to be lying on itself. Unless you want to repeat some things, you can stack them together. But yeah, we'll just need to scale these down and move them out of the way. We can leave it on the side, play with them later. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's also the option of selecting all of these objects right here and right-clicking, unwrap. And you can use the Smart UV Project option. It's basically kind of like auto unwrap. It's not always good to use, but for objects like this, it's quite simple. You click on that, click OK, and notice how everything has been taken apart and placed neatly into your UV workspace. And yeah, it's just a simple sort of option to use, but not always good. It just saves you some time if you're trying to sort of unwrap a, I guess, basic object that you don't really want to spend too much time on. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that part. Next up, we'll throw in some textures in the next video. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, we are back again with UV editing. Now, we've already gone through the basics of the tools and ways to unwrap our objects. We're just going to go ahead and throw in some textures, or actually we're going to make a simple one ourselves. I'm just going to go ahead and delete our object that we have right here and go back to a simple cube. Let's go into object mode, click X, delete, Shift A, let's create our cube. And I'm just going to go into edit mode, double check, see our basic UV or default UVs right here. It's back to normal. Now, to throw in a image texture, all you have to do is create a new one. You can either go over to the UV section right here, scroll to the side, you can create new, and as you can see right here, we have the texture named Untitled. You can change this to, I'm going to rename this as test, and this is the size of your texture, which is 1024 by 1024, the base color of your texture, and alpha, transparency right there. Everything else over here you don't have to change. You're going to click on OK, and as you can see right here, your object is now, the texture is now shown in your UV section, but it's not yet paired with your object. And we're just going to go into our object mode right here and click on that. And as you can see, we are also not in the look dev mode, so you can't really even tell. You can click on look dev, switch it over to that, or you can just click on Z, switch from solid to look dev. Notice that nothing has shown up yet. That's because this object has not been paired up with the UV texture. Now, to pair it up with that texture, it's quite simple. You just go over to your material section. We're going to create new, and with this new material, we are going to go over to the base color section. Instead of selecting and changing the base color, we're going to click on this little node on the side. Click on that, and as you can see right here, there is the textures section. All you have to do is just scroll down, go over to the image texture, click on that, and as you can see right here, let's kind of drag out our menu. There is the options of pairing up with whatever texture is in our database that we've created, or you can open up whatever image that you want from the outside. Now we're just going to test around. We're going to select that test color, and as you can see, because it's all black, there's nothing on it yet. I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to actually use texture paint, and as you can see right here, if I were to say just randomly paint something, you'll notice that something has shown up on our cube. We can sort of mess around with all these, and all those areas will show up in your cube because the UV has been unwrapped. The default structure right here is perfect for you to just randomly mess around with. And yeah, that's pretty much it for your self-made textures. Now, if you do want to save your image right here, all you have to do is just go over to the image section. As you can see in this window, our texture paint area, click on image, and you can just save as into wherever you want to save. I'm not going to save this. I'll just leave it right here. We can delete it. But yeah, that's the basics of your self-made images in Blender. And next up, we'll throw in an actual texture and sort of match it up with that texture. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we are back to Blender 2.8, and we are going to continue on with the final bit of our UV editing side of things. Now, first things first, we previously played around with making our own texture inside Blender 2.8. I forgot to mention that if you were to sort of paint your own image in Blender, you gotta make sure to always save it, because Blender will not retain that image even if you save the file yourself. You always have to make sure to save the image that you've been working on for a while. Luckily, the image that we have right here is not really that detailed. We don't have to worry too much about it. It's a throwaway. But yeah, just always make sure to save your image just in case if you accidentally close your program or it crashes. Anyways, let's go back to our image over here. We are going to import in our own image that we have stored in our files. To do that, we just simply go ahead, we're going to go into our materials section, and I'm just going to go ahead and close off or unlink that image, and we are going to open up our file right here, and you can go search for wherever your file is or wherever your image is saved. I saved it together with my blend file, so it should pop up with everything here. Just going to click on that, and you'll notice that our object itself is kind of odd. Why is the Blender or Zenva man face like this? That is because the image itself, the sort of texture is not wrapped right with our default wrapping, so we'll need to switch it over to the image of the Zenva man and fix up the unwrap or the UVs. Now we're just going to go over to UV editing, and as you can see, it should load up automatically right here. We'll need to switch it from the test image to the Zenva man image. Click on that, and as you can see, the UV unwrap is kind of messed up. And let's make it so that our character is facing this way. As you can see, we can mix and match or kind of move around the image itself. We'll need to move our UVs. Just gonna move these guys out of the way. Also, since we want everything to be precise, I'm gonna turn on snap mode. Just click on the snap in the UV section. And now let's start with our feet right here. I'm gonna move this out of the void Actually, I'll move everything to the side for now. Let's click on, I'll move these to the side right here. And we are going to take, this is the bottom. I'll take this, gonna replace it right here. This is our feet, as you can see right there. And let's put this as our face. So I'm just gonna grab this. This is the one that shows up where the face is gonna be. So I'm just gonna snap it over here. Notice that the orientation's slightly off. We're just gonna have to rotate this. All you have to do is just click R and rotate it. And click on Control to make it snap a little bit more, as you can see right here. Let's see, deselect, there you go. And for this side, this will be the side of the head. So I'm just gonna move this over here. Oop, a little bit too much. We'll need to rotate that as well. So let's just rotate the UV, click R, and let's face it this way, hold Control. Get too close, it's going to kind of go wild, so make sure that you're rotating far away. It gives you more control. For this side, let's go grab this. This UV is right here. I'll just move it down to here. Rotation's kind of off too. You know what? I think it'll be easier if I just grab everything and change the rotation itself later on. This is the top of the head, so this should be right here. And the back should be this one. Oop, forgot to deselect it. Make sure to deselect all the time. There you go. And now all we have to do is just rotate those UVs to fix things up. Let's go rotate this guy. I think it was around here. Click on Control, snap it. There you go. This arm right here, I'm gonna grab this, rotate this way. I'm gonna snap it to place, and I guess the hair is facing the wrong way, because as you can see, the orientation of our texture itself, it is facing downwards, and this is going forwards. We're just gonna rotate that, rotate this to the back. Hold Control, snap it in place, and there you go. We have our Zenba Man completed. Let's go into object mode, check it out, deselect, see if there's any issues with it. Everything seems to be in place, and I guess the shoes seem right. But yeah, there you go. We have our object perfectly UV'd, and now we can just simply export this out, and we can throw in the texture, and it should automatically set everything in place. And we'll have a proper character if we were to export it into other engines such as Unity. But yeah, that's pretty much it for fitting your object into your designed texture. That's pretty much it for UV editing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.